Okay, once again, help from my little helper who scurries off in her shyness. Revelation chapter 17, this is lesson 6 in our study here on Mystery Babylon. Revelation chapter 17, of course, our text I remind you of. Revelation 17:5, and upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. And what we are doing here is identifying the mother. And we're gathering all the doctrinal clues with regards to that. Alright, so let's forge ahead. Let's look at Deuteronomy chapter 12. Deuteronomy chapter 12. But I do encourage you to listen to these lessons in order, because 30 minutes on YouTube video, which takes me approximately 8-9 hours to upload on a good day. Alright, I try to record from the webcam both on my desktop and my laptop, and it only goes up to 15 minutes. Why? When I can record up to 2 gigabytes of video. Upload, I should say. Who knows? 2 gigabytes, by the way, is only 30 minutes. Alright, now I know why preaching's done in person. Deuteronomy chapter 12, let's look at verse 1. We saw this yesterday. These are the statutes and judgments which ye shall observe to do in the land which the Lord... Oh, you know what? I forgot to start my stopwatch. Well... let's start now. How long do you think I've been going? A couple minutes. I'll stop it at the 25-minute mark. This better work. Okay, verse 1. These are the statutes and judgments which ye shall observe to do in the land which the Lord God of thy fathers giveth thee to possess it all the days that ye live upon the earth. Ye shall utterly destroy all the places wherein the nations which ye shall possess serve their gods, upon the high mountains and upon the hills and under every green tree. And we saw yesterday how under every green tree all this abominable things were doing. Okay? And ye shall overthrow their altars and break their pillars and burn their groves with fire. And ye shall hew down the graven images of their gods and destroy the names of them out of that place. Clearly, this false religious system, this mother who is involved in this false religious system since the Garden of Eden, from Genesis 3 on, has to do with the appealing to man's sin nature, the lust of the eyes, the lust of the flesh, and the pride of life. These gods that are out there in this false religious system that is always counterfeiting what God is doing. Look at verse 29 of Deuteronomy chapter 12. When the Lord thy God shall cut off the nations from before thee, whither thou goest to possess them, and thou succeedest them, and dwellest in their land, take heed to thyself that thou be not snared by following them. After that they be destroyed from before thee, and that thou inquire not after their gods, saying, how did these nations serve their gods? Even so will I do likewise. Listen, Proverbs is clear. Buy the truth and sell it not. Don't be interested in how other people served their gods. Okay? All this stuff about finding out about different cultures and things like that. Let me tell you something. When you have the King James Bible and you're English and you understand salvation, you understand that this Bible is the Word of God, and you understand God's establishment commandment, you got it. You just need to run with it. Don't worry. All this stuff about having an open mind. You don't need no open mind. You need a very narrow thinking mind. One that just thinks on what God said and rejects everything else. So don't worry about how these nations serve their gods. Even so will I do likewise. Verse 31. Thou shalt not do so unto the Lord thy God, for every abomination to the Lord which he hateth have they done unto their gods, for even their sons and their daughters they have burnt in the fire to their gods. What system designed by the adversary that can be so deceptive, so alluring, so deceiving, that would cause you to take your child, your son or your daughter, and burn them in fire to some false god who can't do a thing for you? You see this, what I'm talking about? This is Satan's program. This is Satan's mystery program that's been going on since the garden. When it says mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother, this great whore, is designed to lure you in and to just destroy you. It's Verse 32, what things soever I command you, observe to do it. Thou shalt not add thereto, nor diminish from it. God says don't add to his book, don't take away from his book. when it comes to these things in context of these other gods, because you're going to go astray. You are, listen, whether you like it or not, you are involved between a huge war between the God of heaven and earth and formerly Lucifer, now Satan, who was the anointed cherub that covered the throne of God. God will not conceal his power, Job 41 says. Okay? You're in this war, like it or not. Now, Deuteronomy chapter 13, the entire chapter is phenomenal. We're going to get a lot more clues in it. Look at it. If there arise among you a prophet or a dreamer of dreams, and giveth thee a sign or a wonder, and the sign or the wonder come to pass, whereof he spake unto thee, saying, let us go after other gods, which thou hast not known, and let us serve them. Thou shalt not hearken unto the words of that prophet or that dreamer of dreams, for the Lord your God proveth you, to know whether ye love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul. Ye shall walk after the Lord your God, and fear him, and keep his commandments, and obey his voice, and ye shall serve him, and cleave unto him. The Bible way is the only way. And that prophet or that dreamer of dreams shall be put to death, because he hath spoken to turn you away from the Lord your God. And you better mark it down, Satan does that continuously today. Which brought you out of the land of Egypt, and redeemed you out of the house of bondage, to thrust thee out of the way which the Lord thy God commanded thee to walk in. So shalt thou put the evil away from the midst of thee. Now watch this. If thy brother, the son of thy mother, or thy son, or thy daughter, or the wife of thy bosom, or thy friend, which is as thine own soul, talk about a best friend here, which is as thine own soul, entice thee secretly, saying, if any one of these people, your brother, okay, your son or your daughter, your wife or your best friend, entice thee secretly, saying, let us go and serve other gods which thou hast not known, thou nor thy fathers, namely of the gods of the people which are round about you, nigh unto thee or far off from thee, from the one end of the earth even unto the other end of the earth, thou shalt not consent unto him. Look at the allurement here, that this false religious system designed by the mother will use your own brother in the flesh, your own daughter, your son, your children, even your wife or your best friend, will use these closest of your own earthly family to you to draw you away. That's what this system does. So mark it down. That's a big clue. Okay? Verse 7, namely of the gods of the people which are round about you, and nigh unto thee, or far off from thee, from the one end of the earth even unto the other end of the earth, thou shalt not consent unto him. I don't care who it was. Nor hearken unto him, neither shall thine eye pity him, neither shalt thou spare, neither shalt thou conceal him. You don't even cover it up. But thou shalt surely kill him. Look at that. It could have been your brother, could have been your son, your daughter, your wife, or a friend who is as close to you as your own soul. You're to kill him. That's how serious we're talking here. God's attitude towards people who would walk after other gods, and how that, remember though, we're identifying the mother. The mother will use your closest family members to you to get to you. But thou shalt surely kill him. Thine hand shall be first upon him to put him to death, and afterwards the hand of all the people. And thou shalt stone him with stones that he die, because he hath sought to thrust thee away from the Lord thy God, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt, from the house of bondage. And all Israel shall hear and fear. Fear is a good motivator, and shall do no more any such wickedness as this is among you. Are you getting this? If thou shalt hear say in one of thy cities, which the Lord thy God hath given thee to dwell there, saying, certain men, the children of Belial. Who's Belial? Well, notice, that reminds you of 2 Corinthians 6, huh? Belial. Notice, children of Belial, way back here in Deuteronomy with Moses. Look over there in 2 Corinthians 6 during the lifetime of the Apostle Paul. Lifetime of the Apostle Paul, 2 Corinthians 6. Look at verse 15. Of what concord hath Christ with Belial? He's still around. Here's one of the names Okay, one of the harlots, one of the abominations is Belial. Certain men, the children of Belial, have gone out from among you and have withdrawn the inhabitants of their cities, saying, Let us go and serve other gods which ye have not known. Then shalt thou inquire and make search, and ask diligently. And behold, if it be truth, and the thing certain, that such abomination is wrought among you, thou shalt surely smite the inhabitants of that city with the edge of the sword, destroying it utterly, and all that is therein, and the cattle thereof with the edge of the sword. And thou shalt gather all the spoil of it into the midst of the street thereof, and shalt burn with fire the city, and all the spoil thereof every whit, for the Lord thy God. And it shall be in heat forever. It shall not be built again. You're to destroy everything, kill everything, and burn everything when it has to do with this system the mother is building up here. And there shall cleave naught of the cursed thing to thine hand, that the Lord may turn from the fierceness of his anger, and show thee mercy, and have compassion upon thee, and multiply thee, as he hath sworn unto thy fathers, when thou shalt hearken to the voice of the Lord thy God. There's the best advice I could ever tell you. You better listen to the Bible. When thou shalt hearken to the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep all his commandments, which I command thee this day, to do that which is right in the eyes of the Lord thy God. What time are we at here? Okay, 10 minutes. Figured there's about another 3 or 4. Got an email. That's real good. Eyes of the Lord thy God. Now, that's something that's absolutely horrible. You have to root it out. This mother is so horrible, and all the things she produces, we're still identifying her as we look at one of her little offsprings, one of her harlots, and one of her abominations. Look at what this mother does. You got to root it out completely. Now, watch this. This is amazing. Go to Deuteronomy chapter 14 and get 1 Kings chapter 12. Deuteronomy and 1 Kings chapter 12. Now, watch this. This is really, really big clue. Deuteronomy 14, look at verse 23. Watch closely the commandments of the Lord. Okay? 10 minutes. Okay, we're fine. 14:23. And thou shalt eat before the Lord thy God in the place which he shall choose to place his name there, which winds up being Jerusalem. The tithe of thy corn, of thy wine, and of thine oil, and the firstlings of thy herds and of thy flocks, that thou mayest learn to fear the Lord thy God always. And if the way be too long for thee, notice, God has not spoken yet of where he's going to choose to place his name. We know that's Jerusalem, but he hasn't done it yet. But he's going to do it. Okay? And he tells Israel, wherever I choose to place my name, you see in verse 23, and thou shalt eat before the Lord thy God in the place which he shall choose to place his name there. Okay? Look at verse 24. And if the way be too long for thee, so that thou art not able to carry it, or if the place be too far from thee, which the Lord thy God shall choose to set his name there, when the Lord thy God hath blessed thee, then shalt thou turn it into money, and bind up the money in thine hand, and shalt go unto the place which the Lord thy God shall choose. Notice, if Jerusalem, he didn't say Jerusalem yet, but if Jerusalem winds up being too far for you, when it's your time to come to Jerusalem for purposes of serving the Lord and all the different ordinances and festivals that he is going to ordain to wind up being in Jerusalem, if that's too far, God gave instructions so the trip there would be easier. You see what he says in verse 25, then shalt thou turn it into money, and bind up the money in thine hand, and shall go into the place which the Lord thy God shall choose. And then you could use the money to buy the things there that you would need for the various festivals that would be going on. In other words, you don't have to bring your cattle and all that and go all this long way. Don't worry about it. You're going to make this long trip, convert it into money, and when you get there, buy the things that you have need of. Do you understand? That's the commandment. What time have we got here? Now, with that in mind, look at 1 Kings chapter 12. 1 Kings chapter 12, we're going to look at verse 25. Watch what this wicked Jeroboam did. Now, God has already chosen a long time ago before Jeroboam gets in. We had King David, we had Solomon, we had some good kings prior to, and God had already chosen Jerusalem. Jerusalem is the place where God dwells in that temple that Solomon made for him. Now, watch what Jeroboam does. Forget about Jeroboam. Forget who's behind this wicked Jeroboam causing him to do this. Watch the mother do something. Remember God's instructions? If it's too far, you're going to convert it into money, and when you get there, you can buy the things you have need of. Look at verse 25 of 1 Kings 12. Then Jeroboam built Shechem in Mount Ephraim and dwelt therein, and went out from thence and built Penuel. Now watch this. And Jeroboam said in his heart, there's the problem. He's talking in his heart. He's reasoning among himself. Now shall the kingdom return to the house of David. See, he's trying to, how can I keep this kingdom in my control? If this people go up to do sacrifice in the house of the Lord at Jerusalem, then shall the heart of this people turn again unto their Lord, even unto Rehoboam king of Judah. That's what he's trying to avoid. And they shall kill me and go again to Rehoboam king of Judah. Of course, the kingdom's divided. You got Rehoboam and Jeroboam. So he knows that if the people go to do sacrifice in the house of the Lord at Jerusalem, he knew that, then shall the heart of this people turn again unto their Lord, which of course is Rehoboam. Watch what this goofy Jeroboam does. Look at verse 28. Whereupon the king took counsel and made 2 calves of gold. Oh, look at this. 2 calves of gold. Why are they calves again? Remind you of something? 2 calves of gold, and said unto them, look at this. Watch what he tells them. It is too much for you to go up to Jerusalem. I mean, that's too far of a trip. Even though God said to do it that way, it's too far of a trip. You know what? You got to haul all your cattle and all that. See, this is what happens when people don't pay attention to what God said. Look at what he says again. I mean, look at this. In verse 28. Whereupon the king took counsel and made 2 calves of gold and said unto them, it is too much for you to go up to Jerusalem. Behold thy gods, O Israel, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. Now look at this. And he set the one in Bethel, and the other put he in Dan. Remember I told you, remember back in Genesis 49 about Dan? Dan shall be a serpent by the way, an adder that biteth the horse heel so that the rider falls backward. Do you remember that? That's why I told you remember the stuff about Dan. We got some more things in Judges 17 about Dan. But anyways, and he set the one in Bethel and the other put he in Dan. And this thing became a sin, for the people went to worship before the one, even unto Dan. So, don't worry about the long trip. I'm going to make it convenient for you. Verse 31. And he made an house of high places, and made priests of the lowest of the people, which were not of the sons of Levi. All of a sudden, we got false priests showing up. Counterfeit priests, and of the lowest of the people. Scumbags. The dregs of society, he turns into priests, which were not of the sons of Levi. They weren't even of the tribe of Levi. Verse 32, watch it, it gets even worse. And Jeroboam ordained a feast in the 8th month on the 15th day of the month. Watch it closely. Like unto the feast that is in Judah. Look at the counterfeit. Just like unto the feast that is in Judah. You see that? But you don't have to make the far trip. Let me tell you what, this mother, this great whore of Revelation 17, will do everything it can to appeal to your flesh. It will appeal so you don't have to travel far. It'll give you a counterfeit feast that looks just like the real thing. Do you see what's going on here? So verse 32, and Jeroboam ordained a feast in the 8th month on the 15th day of the month, like unto the feast that is in Judah. And he offered upon the altar, his own altar. So did he in Bethel, sacrificing unto the calves that he had made, and he placed in Bethel the priest of the high places which he had made. So he offered upon the altar which he had made in Bethel the 15th day of the 8th month, even, watch it, even in the month which he had devised of his what? Own heart. Let me tell you something. He devised this of his own heart. and ordained a feast unto the children of Israel, and he offered upon the altar and burnt incense. Do you see the tremendous counterfeiting going on here? Don't worry about going to Jerusalem, pulling in everyone for all the nation of Israel and all their tribes from all around and centering in Jerusalem where God said to go. I'm just going to take you, put a calf up here and a calf down here. Don't worry about going to Jerusalem. I'm going to make it easy for everybody. And the feast is going to be looking just like the real thing. It's going to be counterfeit. You're not going to have to travel far. And you're going to think you're worshiping the God of Israel. And notice how, it turns into calves. Remember the calves from the earlier lesson? The cherub, okay? Satanically inspired. But I want to point out here in verse 33. So he offered upon the altar which he had made in Bethel the 15th day of the 8th month, even in the month which he had devised of his own heart. His own heart. He came up with this in his own heart. Why? Oh, do you remember reading in Ephesians 2? Satan's spirit is the spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience. Let me tell you what, the entire system, this entire world, as 1 John says, the whole world lieth in wickedness. This is an evil world, the Apostle Paul says. What time is it? Okay. Evil world, the Apostle Paul said. And this world being as evil as it is designed. It is designed by the adversary, Satan, who is running the mother, who then disperses out to all her little harlots and abominations. Satan runs the mother directly, that great whore. And it's designed to appeal to the lust of your flesh. It's going to lure you in. It's going to use your, it's going to use your own brother. It's going to use your son, your daughter. It's going to use your friend, your wife, your best friend, a friend who's yours as your own soul. It's going to use your closest family members. It's going to give you such a counterfeit, it's going to look like the real thing, so you don't even have to travel far. It's always going to appeal to either the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, or the pride of life. Every single time. You mark it down. Well, I'll tell you, I'm going to just close out by saying there's some more clues, and those are some big ones. In lesson number 6, take it to heart. And we're just getting warmed up. As this stuff starts, it's going to take a while at this pace with the YouTube videos. And good night, nurse, loading these things seems like it takes forever. Anyways, I do it when I'm sleeping, but still, it's hard labor, which I love to help all of you to see this. But I want to encourage you all, listen closely to me. You need to go to the website. If you're not doing this, I know several are, but if you're not, go to our website, thescripturesalonebibleschool.net. If you think you're liking this, the reason why this stuff is starting to get pretty good here is because it's being taught from being established in the faith in that perspective. You need to go to the radio show archives on WSLM Radio and get the lessons of the scripture verse by verse starting in Romans. I cannot emphasize that enough. If you think you can just get this message and listen to all the YouTube videos, I'm so happy you are, but you have to go and get the archived radio lessons. They're starting in Romans verse by verse and teaching the scriptures correctly so that you indeed get established in the faith. And once you're established in the faith, you can read the scriptures yourselves clear as a bell and see these things. They'll just pop out on the page and it'll be clear as a bell, and so many hundreds and thousands and infinite number of greater things. Okay, I'm tired. Did reading. I did a lot today. Got a lot done for the Lord. Reading, 5 radio messages for next week are all in the Dropbox ready to go. And I'll tell you, helped Brother Alex Walters bring his toolbox to his new job, and that thing weighed a ton. And my right thigh is paying the price. Thanks, brother, so I can glory in my infirmities. All right. Farewell. Read your Bibles, do your homework, and Lord willing, we'll see you tomorrow. Do go to our website, thescripturesalonebibleschool.net, please. All right. Farewell.